What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Here we are with another reaction. In this, we have how I see Germany after living in the UK for 11 years. God dang. Before we dive in, if you guys happen to enjoy, please don't forget to subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, and let's dive in.
I have lived in the UK for almost 11 years, and today I would like to share how this time has changed me and also how I see my home country, Germany, now. I am going to talk about my likes and dislikes, so let's begin. This video I will only share my opinion and my experience, so obviously that can differ to other people's opinion and experience. I came here in 2014. I had never been in the UK before. No, that's not true. I have been in the UK before, but I'd never lived here and I didn't know much about the lifestyle. To be honest, I thought it would be very European. Also to note, I came when the borders were open to Europeans. Brexit hadn't happened yet.
This means that the UK has voted to leave the European Union.
And you could just get into an airplane and come over here. So I got onto the airplane in Hamburg, just over an hour's flight to London, and this is where my journey began. But when I first arrived, to integrate myself into the British lifestyle, it wasn't as easy as I thought. But let's get into that a little bit later. And let's first get into the dislikes.
Let's do it.
What I dislike about Germany since living abroad, to be honest, I've always disliked this. At the time, I just didn't know it could be better. Is the German seriousness and the German negative attitude. Germans very often find something negative in a situation. German customer service can be quite rude. I mean, customer service is usually known for customer is king in Germany. It always surprises me how rude someone in customer service can be. To give you an example, I went with my friend to a indoor swimming pool and there was a cafe. So when we got our order, my friend's order got mixed up. So she didn't get exactly what she ordered. She told the waitress in a really nice way, and the waitress shouted at her, "No, that's what you said." And honestly, it's just unheard of. Another time.
Dang. Germany. You can't be yelling at the customers like that. Even if you say, no, this is what you said in a polite way, you can't be yelling at the customers. I guess unless they yelling at you first.
Again, we went to a pool, a different pool by the way, and when we were checking out, there was something wrong with the automat and we couldn't pay there. So we wanted to pay with her and she immediately accused us of trying to leave the pool without paying, even though we tried to pay at the machine, which wasn't working, and then we wanted to pay with her and she was extremely rude. I just thought, wow, this is a reminder where I am. So that's definitely not something I am missing. But that being said, customer service, I would say, is better here, but that doesn't mean that they're always perfectly friendly. So I'm also mentioned seriousness. So I wouldn't say that Brits are the most humor-filled humans. Okay, that's not a word. I wouldn't say that every single Brit has a good sense of humor.
Okay, there we go.
But I would say that generally speaking, people are slightly more lighthearted and a bit more prone to humor than Germans are. And again, that being said, it doesn't mean that Germans don't have any humor. Paperwork and dealing with the German tax system. So I am self-employed here in the UK, and every time I considered to go back to Germany, which wasn't that often actually, it was only once, many years ago, I seriously considered going back to Germany. And I looked into what it takes to be self-employed in Germany. And it's so much more complicated. There is so much more paperwork involved. I don't know why it has to be so complicated. Another point
I
that
have heard that about Germany is the bureaucracy. All that, and it's not like modern. Like you can do everything online. You can do all these forms. Like everything has to be done by hand on paper, sent in the mail. Gotta wait for a response to be sent back. Like a very slow process. And so I have heard that in different videos. So I'm sure it is probably a bit easier for her to be self-employed in the UK rather than in Germany.
I dislike about Germany and have for a very long time is if you want to change careers. Most occupations you would need to do at least another 3-year training, and in
So
some
my
cases I am
dang.
sure that is very necessary, but in some occupations it is simply not. Here in the UK, if you do a degree, it doesn't necessarily mean that you stay in your degree. You could also go into a different field and be trained by a company and then work your way up within the company. But in Germany, that is way more unusual, and I find that quite limiting. Another thing I wanted to mention was smoking. In Germany, a lot more people smoke than in the UK, and I have
Okay.
thought about why that is. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure, but I think that people here don't smoke as much because of the cost of smoking. So in Germany, a packet of cigarettes is around €7, and here is about £15. It really costs a
Oh,
fortune to smoke. It's quite nice
dang.
that there aren't as many smokers
Well,
because
yeah, that'll be a huge reason for people to not smoke. When you think about the price difference, like, oh my god.
smoking isn't good for you. Now let's talk about the likes. I don't know, for some reason I prefer to do that. The German healthcare system I put as my
Mm,
first point because even though I know that not everything is perfect, we shouldn't always think the grass is greener on the other side.
yeah.
However, the grass is a little bit greener in Germany when it comes to health insurance. Let's
Hmm.
begin with the fact that dental care is only very minimally included in the NHS, which is
Mm,
the healthcare system in the UK. In
mm,
Germany, for example, you get 2 visits to the dentist to check up on your teeth, which are
mm,
included in your health insurance. And if there's anything wrong with your teeth, most procedures are also included, unless it's something that is not included. But in the UK, first of all, it is very difficult to even be able to be taken on as an NHS client. I've been living here for, as I said, almost 11 years, and I only was able to sign up with an NHS dentist about 2 years ago. It was really difficult. So for a while, I simply paid for a private dentist out of my own pocket. And another example is mental health. I know that people in Germany complain about that there isn't enough access to therapists, but it is possible to get mental health support in Germany through your health insurance if you keep trying. Whereas here, at the moment, it is so bad that you will only get support if you are. Otherwise, the NHS does not have the resources to offer you any kind of help. You have to pay that out of your own pocket if you want to see a counselor or a therapist. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is
I feel like German healthcare system does sound absolutely great. I think the NHS is a great healthcare system for the UK. It allows everybody to have access to healthcare, which is great to me. But for Germany, they include the 2 dental visits a year. Like that's pretty dope. Like shout out Germany.
safety. So the crime rate in the UK is slightly higher than in Germany, But I
Okay.
think it depends a little bit on where you live.
Of
And in my
course.
case, because I'm from a very small town in Germany and now I live in a very big city, London, where statistically there is one murder every 3 days. And the town I actually
So
came
every three
from, there have been
days.
about 2 or 3 murders in the last 40 years. So that's obviously very
Jeez
different. In general, the
Louise.
crime rate is slightly higher in the UK, but this affects me more because of where I used to live and where I live now. That's obviously my personal choice. What I mean is that I don't feel safe in certain situations. I didn't mean for
Understandable.
it to come across like I don't feel safe in London. It's literally different areas, different situation, like
For
early in
sure.
the morning, late at night, that sort of thing.
I
Oh, the
get
other
that.
thing I wanted to mention about the healthcare system. Recently, the NHS has dropped even more services, and
Oh,
ever since they are promoting a lot for people to see pharmacies for various issues, that they should not see the GP anymore for certain issues, but they should go to the pharmacy. And
mm,
in some cases, I get that, like you don't have to see your GP for everything, but I recently took one of my clients to her GP, and there was a big screen and it kept promoting all the things you should just see your pharmacy for. And I thought it was interesting how they're trying to just keep you away. And the other
yeah.
thing that recently happened, not with my personal GP, but with hers, is that they moved everything online and that they actually have said not to call them anymore. I mean,
Oh,
imagine
wow.
that. So you're allowed to contact them, but ideally, I mean, there still is a number, and you can call them if
I
necessary.
guess
But
they're at this point they're just so busy that they can't really just like if certain issues like don't come to us with these issues. Like, we need to handle the more serious situations, and y'all are we're busy taking care of y'all and missing some of these serious situations. So we need to do this, and for these little things, y'all just go to the pharmacy first.
ideally, don't call them. I just
Look
think it's
online.
interesting. Another point about Germany that's really positive is that access to education is much easier and more affordable than here. I think that many Germans don't appreciate that as much as they should. I mean, I don't want to tell them what they should or
Yeah,
shouldn't, but it
facts.
is a luxury that it doesn't matter what your financial background is. There is the common idea that everybody should have access to education. So in
Agreed.
Germany, people pay a fee, but it's usually between German tuition fees. University generally offer tuition-free education, but you need to pay a semester fee around 100 and 350. Ah, okay, but I don't think this is completely true. I think this is too low. I think that the administrative fee can go up to 1,000 euro, depending on which city you're in. So I already looked up the British annual fee, and that's around £9,000. I do know that if you get a student loan here, that they do have quite a good system about paying it back, but still, it is debt that you accumulate at a very young age.
Yeah.
In Germany, we also get more.
Yeah. I mean, that's not bad. But Germany, 1,000 per semester, that's a dream. To pay $1,000 per semester school. I'd have graduated with like $8,000 in debt. No, like 16,000. But then, like, if I got student loans and all that, no, I'd be around 15. That's a lot better than graduating with 30 something thousand. Jeez.
Off days, which is really nice. Like here in the UK, you get usually around 25. In Germany, it's more common to get 30 days off in a year. Another point that I really appreciate is German honesty and loyalty. Now, I wouldn't say that British people aren't honest or loyal. I actually do find that even
And I want to say, no, it would have been $8,000 in debt. And I've been able to pay that off. All right.
though it
Honesty and
takes longer
loyalty.
to make friends, That's where I stopped in the beginning when I said I didn't have the easiest start here. I found it more difficult to make friends here than in other countries that I had lived in before. But the friends that I did make, well, only 2 of them are British. No, I would say that British people, when it comes to friendship, are fairly loyal. Maybe not as loyal as Germans. It's hard to reach that level. In
I feel you.
Germany, friendship has such a high standard. People do things for their friends that I don't think people would do here. Like, for example, someone would take you to the airport at like 4 in the morning. I
I
do
would do
miss
that
the
for a
German
friend.
values and the reliability a bit. For example, I try to do my best when it comes to considering the environment in my day-to-day life. Recycling is dear to my heart, but it is not so dear to a lot of people's hearts here. My mom told me that one of her neighbors went to another neighbor to explain recycling to her because she's noticed that she's not recycling correctly. Now, this is something British people would probably never do because they would find that as impolite. And I mean, even for me, as a German, I would struggle to find the confidence to
Uh,
go say to someone you're recycling wrong. But
yeah.
I think it's really, really good to do that because maybe that person doesn't know that they're doing it wrong, and just telling them one time
Yep.
can set the record straight. So I would say that is something I miss, the German directness to just say how it is. Sometimes I
Yeah.
found it's a bit too much because
And I know that Germans don't play about their rules. They recycling, they crossing the street, just very rule oriented and very strict on following them and making sure that others follow them as well. So you gonna recycle correctly.
Germans sometimes can be so direct that it is almost rude. I've had people say something really directly to me. I can't think of an example now, but I remember to feel really hurt because they often don't think about how to say it in a nice way. Germans say things very directly. British people say things indirectly, so that
Yes.
there's a lot of room for interpretation. And my idea for the perfect solution would be to be direct but to be friendly. If you say
I
something
like that.
directly and you're rude, then, or you come across rude, the person is less likely to take it as constructive criticism.
Agreed.
Then the message isn't coming across at all. I do think
Agreed.
that the middle would be a good solution. Another point about Germany that is very nice is that transport is cheaper, and especially since they have introduced something that is called the Germany ticket, you can
The
travel
Germany
on
ticket.
all regional trains in Germany for a whole month, so that's pretty amazing. But also a monthly ticket in London is around 170 pounds, which is around 200 euros, and a monthly ticket in Berlin, for example, in comparison is 106 euros. So a London monthly ticket is nearly double the price than a Berlin monthly ticket. So that's quite interesting. Also, rent is through the roof here in London. Yeah, being able to rent at a lower price is definitely a benefit. Spoiler alert! I don't think this country has changed me that much. I think that because I had lived in Australia and in the US before I came here, that really opened me up to different cultures,
I feel
to
that.
making a life in a new country.
Yeah.
A lot of changes had already taken place before I came here. I am still a very small channel. I have just over 1,000 subscribers, so if you would like to support the channel, you can do that via super thanks, and I would really appreciate that. But the other way you can also support me is leave a thumbs up, or if you want, you can subscribe to the channel to see me a bit more often. And the other thing that I wanted to share is that I got this video inspiration from another YouTuber who lives in the US. I will link her video down below. Also, if you have any video ideas, please write them in the comments below, and also let me know which point you found the most interesting, or if you're German or if you're British, which points you disagree with or agree with. I would like to know about that. Alright, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and you will see me soon with another video. Bye!
So in this one, we got to kind of hear some of the things she enjoys more so in the UK than in Germany, but also some of the things she enjoyed more so in Germany than the UK. Let me know what y'all think about the video. Talk to me in the comment section. That's all we have. If you guys enjoyed, don't forget to subscribe, give it a thumbs up, check out the next, and I'll see y'all.